Imagine what you could do if you saw challenges as stepping stones to your dreams and your goals. And if instead of saying I can't, you said I can and I will. Well, in 2022, this is what I did, alongside 3 other bold, courageous, and slightly bonkers working mums, including my sister who's here tonight. I rode over 3,000 miles across the Atlantic Ocean, from the Canaries to Antigua. And in doing that, I became one of fewer than 250 women to have ever rode an ocean. Now, while that may sound extraordinary, I am not extraordinary. I'm not a superhero, I'm not an elite athlete. I'm an everyday working mum of 3, I'm a wife, a sister, a daughter, and like many of you guys, I've spent most of my career to date in marketing. But an opportunity came along, and from somewhere I mustered up enough boldness and enough bravery to say yes. And that decision changed the course of my life and my career. And I want to spend the next few minutes telling you a little bit about my story. A few weeks after having had a hip replacement, my sister, Pip, called me and she said, "Dids," that's my family name. She said, "Dids, I've got a boat. Do you want to row the Atlantic?" And of course, I said, no. And I reeled off all sorts of reasons why I couldn't do it. I said, but the kids are too young. They were 2, 4, and 6 at the time. I said, I can't leave them for that long, and I've just had a hip replacement. I think you'd probably all agree there were fairly robust reasons for saying no. But Pip can be very persuasive. You might even call her a little bit bossy. And she said something to me which really resonated, and it's a message and a lesson that will stay with me for life. She said, "Stop giving me reasons why you can't, and start giving me reasons why you can." That simple thing she said lit this spark in me. And when I put down the phone, I was grinning from ear to ear, and I had this fire in my belly because I knew I was going to say yes. It was just a small matter of a conversation with my husband to convince him of this plan. As it turns out, he knows me pretty well. He knows that when I get the bit between my teeth, there's little point in putting up a fight. And to his credit and my relief, admittedly with a resigned look on his face, he said, "This can either be a long conversation or a short one, so let's make it a short one." And with that hurdle out of the way, it didn't take me long to find my cans. Of course, I couldn't do it yet, but this shiny new hip had given me a new lease of life. It wasn't an excuse to say no. It was my reason to say yes. It was my can. And because I'd found my can, I did say yes. And in doing that, I took the first step on the long road to achieving something extraordinary. And when you're setting out on the path to a big, challenging goal, you don't have to have all of the answers. You don't have to have the route fully mapped out. We certainly didn't. You just need to be able to take the first step. And so often, that's simply saying yes, committing. Now, in the interest of time and my 10 minutes, I'm going to fast forward 2 years now and miss out all of the training and, in fact, most of the row itself. But let me just say this. Rowing the Atlantic was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. It was both life-changing and life-affirming. And I honestly couldn't recommend it more. And it was such an enormous privilege to be able to do that with my sister. So here we are again, just having crossed the finishing line of the world's toughest row in English Harbour, Antigua, waving our flares in the air, basking in the glory of what we'd just achieved. To add a little bit of colour around it, we completed the row in 40 days, smashing our goal of 45 days. This bunch of midlife mums, in an equally old and worn-out boat, came 13th out of a fleet of 37 boats. Beating many of the men's and the mixed crews. And most people, quite frankly, couldn't believe it. You see, I think because we were midlife mums, they'd expected us to just give it a go, float in somewhere near the back of the fleet a few weeks later. But we wanted to challenge those perceptions about what midlife women can do. And we worked really, really hard, and we showed that with the right mindset, with the right people around you, and yes, with a lot of hard work, ordinary people like us can achieve extraordinary things. So mission accomplished. And if you're thinking that's quite enough excitement for a little while, I'd be inclined to agree. But life had other ideas. So I finished the row. I was reunited with my family in Antigua, got a small holiday, and went back home. I went back to work. Life seemed to be getting back to normal. But then life did what it always tends to do just when you think it's going so well. And it well and truly burst my bubble. In fact, it threw one whopping great curveball right into the pit of my stomach. Because just a few weeks after completing the row, just a few weeks after this photo was taken, I was diagnosed with stage 3 bowel cancer. Wow, that was a punch in the guts. In the blink of an eye, my world had turned upside down. For a few days, I didn't know if I'd get to see my children grow up. I was facing the prospect of surgery, chemo, and a very uncertain future. And it was almost inconceivable to me that this should be happening. Because I just rode the Atlantic, and I was young, at least in cancer terms, and I was fitter and stronger than I'd ever been. And I think it would have been understandable at that point for me to think, why me? But I'm an eternal optimist, and turning it on its head, and all of the reasons that I gave for why me, being young, fit, and strong, were actually the reasons that I was able to think, do you know what? Why not me? Because I'm young, fit, and strong, and because I've just proven that I'm mentally and physically resilient rowing the Atlantic, I know that I'm better placed than almost anyone else to get through this. And I did, with the help of my family, friends, colleagues, and the amazing NHS. I did get through it, but I didn't just get through it. I used it as a catalyst for positive change. And so, after my cancer treatment, I took the fairly bold decision to leave my role in marketing in the corporate world to become a professional speaker. And that was fueled by this new desire to show other women, other people, that they are so much more capable than they think, and that ordinary women, everyday women like me, like you, can achieve extraordinary things. Now, as a marketeer, I love a story. It runs in the blood. And a story needs to have a good beginning, a middle, and an end. And I've kind of always felt that my story has lacked the ending. Lots of people ask, what next? And so to bring things right up to date, I have decided to give my story an ending, or at least an end of chapter 1. And in 2 weeks' time, I'll be off here. Not right to the top. I will be tackling the world's highest marathon, the Everest Base Camp Marathon. And that's about proving to myself that I'm better, but not only that I'm better, that I've come back stronger. It's about inspiring other people who might be going through similar challenges. And it's about continuing to show that everyday people like us can do extraordinary things. Now, if you're familiar with the format of tonight's event, you'll know that it's customary to leave you with 3 messages or 3 actions. So let me start mine. Number 1, the biggest barriers to achieving your dreams are usually ourselves. We sabotage our dreams and our goals with these limiting beliefs, self-doubt. So what I'd love you all to do is, whenever you catch yourself saying, I can't, reframe that. Tell yourself I can, and I will, because we all can. And number 2, having said we all can, doesn't mean we all will. And I think one of the biggest differences between action and inaction is not ability, it's motivation. You have to actually want to do something to be able to get through all the challenges. So find your why, understand what motivates you. And then lastly, we procrastinate over these big, bold actions. We wait for the perfect time, but there's rarely a right time. The right time is now. As I've learned from experience, you never know what's around the corner, so seize the opportunities that come your way. But more than that, go and make your own opportunities. Don't wait for the right time to be bold. Be bold now. Thank you very much.